Okay, students, now we can see, is the friction necessary for us in our daily life or not? So is friction necessary? So the answer is obviously yes. We need friction, and the friction is a necessary evil or a devil for us in our daily life. Whenever we have more amount of friction, we can reduce it by using some materials called oil, grease, water, which are called lubricants. So now the present concept is friction necessary to us? The answer is yes, friction is necessary to us. So why friction is necessary? So we cannot walk or run without friction. So try to walk on a slippery surfaces or on a muddy surfaces. Can you walk easily? No, we can't walk on muddy surfaces or slippery surfaces. We fall easily, and we cannot walk even if more amount of sand is also there, or there is a wetness on the floor, or wetness is there on the roads. The vehicles also go very slow because friction is less. Otherwise the vehicles will be over toppled and fall down. So we cannot walk or run. We cannot walk or run without friction. We cannot do our basic activities like running, walking, swimming and eating also. We cannot do all these basic activities without friction. And we will not have any cars or bicycles or scooters, because all of them move because of friction only. All of them move because of friction. And carpenters will not able to smoothen the surfaces if there is no friction. And we cannot hold any objects such as a hammer, soap or a glass or some pen, pencil, anything. We can't hold it, they'll slide. So friction is necessary for us. And it will not possible to write with a pen or pencil also. And next thing, no buildings could be constructed. Buildings cannot be constructed if there were no friction. So we cannot keep a brick one over the other and there is no friction. Okay, and we will not able to fix a nail to the wall. We cannot fix a nail to the wall if there were no friction also. And sometimes the asteroids come from the interstellar space to the earth. When there is no friction, they directly come and hit the earth. So it causes a lot of damage and it can kill the men also. So but in the atmosphere, due to friction, fire is produced, and that fire is burning the asteroids and they vanishes there only. So that is also one advantage of friction. And next one, disadvantages of friction. So, and friction is responsible for wearing overheat. It produces more amount of heat energy in the machinery, so energy gets wasted in the form of heat and it is not utilized to work the machine and to give the output. So it is responsible for overheating and wearing and tearing of moving parts. So wearing and tearing. So the parts will be wear and teared out. Tear. So wearing and tearing of the machinery parts takes place due to friction, and so we apply oil, grease or some other lubricants to reduce the friction in that situations. And forest fires are produced due to frictional force. So that is also, forest fires are produced between the branches of the trees due to friction. In these situations we have to reduce the friction. Okay students, now we are going to see friction produces heat. The question is, does the friction produces heat? So we can see two activities. From those two activities, we can conclude that friction produces heat. Rub the hands of your palms few minutes. Rub like this for few minutes and see how do you feel after some time. Few minutes you rub it and you keep your hands on your cheeks. Do you feel warm? Yes, obviously your answer is correct. Yes, we are feeling warm, means heat is produced there. And similarly, striking the matchstick against the surface of the matchbox. Take a matchbox, take one matchstick and strike the matchstick against the surface of the matchbox, rough surface of the matchbox. We found that the matchstick catches the fire. Means here due to the friction only it is catching the fire. Means from both the activities we can see that from both the activities, because of friction, temperature of the surfaces increases which are pressing each other. So because of friction, temperature of the surfaces increases and matchstick catches the fire because of increasing temperature. So the matchstick is catching that fire. So because of increasing the temperature. So from these two activities we can say that friction produces heat. Answer is yes. And see, the spacecrafts returning to the earth has to be protected by a heat shield covering. So, do you know students what is spacecraft? Spacecraft is a vehicle to go into the outer space. It's a vehicle. It's a vehicle to go to outer space. Spacecraft is a machine designed to go to the interstellar space or to go to the outer space. And these spacecrafts returning to the earth has to be protected by a heat shield covering. So heat shield, or why do those spacecrafts are covered by the heat shields means heat shields are used as the brakes. These are just used as the brakes to stop spacecraft burning up and crashing on re-entry of the earth, on the re-entry of the planets. And these heat shields are made with carbon composite. These heat shields are made with carbon composite materials. Okay, students, now in this class we can see increasing and decreasing friction. Sometimes friction is advantageous to us. In that situation, we want to increase the friction, and in some cases we have to reduce the friction. So we have to decrease the friction for our better work and for our conveniency also. So see in what cases we are increasing the friction. In what cases we are decreasing the friction? So, see my dear students, why the sole of your shoes is grooved. Sole of the shoes is grooved. Why the tires of cars and trucks and bulldozers are threaded? To answer this question, and in these two situations we increase the friction. And why gymnasts apply some coarse substances on their hands? And why do you need to change the tires when its threading is worn out? Why? So in these four cases we increase the friction for our better improvement. So see, the sole of your shoes is grooved. Why the sole of the shoe is grooved? We are going to discuss now. It is grooved. When the sole of the shoe is grooved, it is provided to give the better grip between the shoes and the floor, so we can walk safely. That sole shoes is grooved, that is we are discussing. Shoes is grooved means it provides better grip on the floor. It provides a better grip on the floor, better grip between the shoes and the floor, so we can walk safely. So we can walk safely. Can walk safely. So why the sole of your shoes is grooved? It is provided that grooving is provided, that grooves provides better grip on the floor between the bottom of the shoe and the floor, so we can walk safely. Similarly, for the same reason, threading, the tires across trucks and bulldozers are threaded. Threading also provides this threaded or threading for vehicles provides better grip between the road and the tire, so the vehicles can be stopped easily and can be started easily, and we can maintain high speed on the vehicles. They can run with high speed on the vehicles. So next, why gymnasts apply some coarse substances on their hands? That coarse substances means coarse means hard substance. Coarse means hard. Substance means that hard substances which have fine particles in it, which is also provides that coarse substances provides so that increases the friction. So increases the friction and gives better grip for hands, so they can perform the gymnastics easily. So gymnasts apply some core substances. These core substances increases the friction and gives better gripping for the hands, so they can perform those gymnastics easily. And next, why do you need to change the ties when its threading is worn out? So threading is there, it provides a better gripping on the floor and the vehicles can run easily on the road. When there is no threading, when the threading is worn out, no friction, so moving vehicles cannot be stopped easily, and when we want to apply the brakes and stop the vehicle, we cannot stop it, and even we cannot maintain high speed also. So we have to change the worn out tiles. So why do you need to change the tiles when its threading is worn out? In all the four situations, we increase the frictional force. So now, next three situations. Why do we sprinkle powder on the carom board while playing carom game? And why do we pour few drops of oil on the hinges of the door? And why do we use grease between the moving parts of motor vehicles? See, in these three situations, we reduces the friction, we decrease the friction or reduce the friction. Play carom board without powder on it and play the carom board with fine powder sprinkled on it, and observe in which case we can play easily. So observe the movement of the strikers and coins when powder is sprinkled on it over the board. So in the second case, we can play the carom board easily, and we pour few drops of oil on the hinges of the door when the doors are tightened and not moving around the hinges axis. And why do we use grease between the moving parts of the motor vehicles? So to reduce the friction in the carom board game, we are using powder, and to reduce the friction between the door hinges, we are using oil. To reduce the friction. And here in the motor vehicles and cycles, in the grease between the moving parts of the vehicles we are using. So these substances are reducing the friction. So in these three situations, so that is playing a carom board, second one pour oil here, and third one. In these three situations, we are reducing the friction. How we can see now? So to reduce the friction, we are using the materials oil or grease. So the substances the substances which reduce friction. The substances which reduce friction are called lubricants. So these are called lubricants. Examples of the lubricants are oil, grease, some liquids, So lubricants are the substances which reduces friction. So we came to know that. And examples of lubricants also we have seen this. Then how do these lubricants decreases the friction between the moving parts of the vehicles we are seeing? When oil, grease, or any lubricants are applied when oil, grease or any lubricants are applied between the moving parts of the vehicle, a thin layer is formed. A thin layer is formed between the moving surfaces. Thin layer will be formed between the moving surfaces, and this thin layer make the substances do not drop against each other. So it makes the surfaces to do not drop against each other. To do not rub against each other. So this thin layer stops rubbing the surfaces against each other, means interlocking. Interlocking is avoided. Interlocking is avoided to great extent. So interlocking is avoided to great extent. Hence the movement of the parts becomes smooth, and the movement of the parts is smooth. In this way, lubricants reduces the friction between the moving parts. See, my dear students, when the lubricants are applied between the moving parts of the surfaces, like oil, grease, are applied between the moving parts of the surface, a thin layer is formed between the surfaces, and which do not make the surfaces to rub against each other, which stops rubbing the surfaces against each other, because a layer is formed here, so they do not press directly, means they are not in direct contact, so interlocking is avoided. Friction is caused due to the interlocking, like this kind of interlocking, so this interlocking is reduced. There is no interlocking, so surfaces can move one over the other very smoothly. So momentum of the parts of the surfaces becomes smooth. In this way, we can reduce the friction, and in these situations we are reducing the friction, and these situations we are increasing the friction.